Mustafa. Thank you very much for giving me a time for my FMP.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. So today here we are with Mustafa. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Mustafa. I identify myself as an activist and especially peacebuilding activist. I was working since until now, since 2012, I think, with displaced people and specifically refugee as well in neighbor country. I mean, Syrian neighbor country. I have been promoted active citizenship, civic engagement, and civil action and civic awareness around Syria, around global issues around the world.
Hi, today we have a very important guest, and he is my friend as well. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Zafer. I'm Ayla's friend and a peace and dialogue professional. I've worked in peacebuilding, reconciliation, research in the past 15 years in Syria, Turkey, some European countries, and finally here in the UK. I'm a refugee as well. I've been here in the UK for around 5 years. Before that, I've been a refugee for another 10 years in Turkey.
Today we have a very special guest. She's my mom. She is a very powerful woman. What kind of racism or discrimination did you face while applying for visas or trying to reunite with your family?
Actually, when I applied to Turkish to reunite with my husband for like 7 times.
Turkish embassy, right?
Yeah, Turkish embassy. That was a very bad experience there. And I applied for my daughters 3 times to reunite with them. Yeah. For applying for my husband, it was very bad experience. So they actually treat us with a very bad way.
So you were applying for yourself to reunite with your husband?
With my husband.
He was living in Turkey, and you were applying to go...
From Syria. I'm from Syria. I went to Lebanon to apply for the visa. So then they treated us actually in a very bad way, even in their like boards, in their like how they treat us. They left us like 3 hours outside the building in the street,
just to wait to go inside.
Yes, to wait to go inside, and they during this time they were shouting at us and when we entered, they inspected us in a very like bad way. So when we entered the room to apply and gave them our paper, they don't allow us to they didn't allow us to ask any question, and even to any inquiry about the time when they will if our papers are completed or we need more paper. Nothing. You cannot ask. You are not allowed to ask. You are not allowed to speak with anyone. It was very bad experience. I felt very bad at that time. Every time I went there to make us you feel that we are like vulnerable or very
a low class, low level than
low
them.
level.
Can you share a moment when you faced racism directly?
I was working as an automation engineer in Turkey, and actually I was junior engineer because I don't have that much experience when I fled from a country. So my line manager, or my boss, I would say my boss because it was boss more than manager, he assigned me a very, very, very hard job, although he knew that I'm not that experienced. But he assigned me a very big job. I accepted that challenge because I love that challenges in my life. The challenge was to operate a machine actually the machine was like a room-sized machine, and it was very, very complicated one. But this machine wasn't in our factory. It was in a different another factory, which is moderated by different people, not my colleagues in my factory. And then I was working day and night there.
Like how many hours?
I mean, actually it's more than 12-14 hours.
Oh my god, that's a lot.
Yeah, more than 12 and 14 hours. I remember one time my boss dropped me off home at 3 morning, and he asked me to come back to the work at 9 a.m.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and actually that was one moment I feel racist because of my situation as a Syrian refugee, vulnerable. Then he can do whatever. He can order me whatever order he wants. That's not the story yet.
Okay.
So the story is, so when he assigned me that job in another factory, I was working in that factory like day and night, and for at least 2 months. The people there, I mean, they've got bored from me because this machine is not working. Again, when they saw me like day and night without any outcome. By the way, in Turkey, when you work in a place, they prepare the food for you, so you don't have to go and buy your food. I mean, not all of them, but many of them. So I was eating. I mean, I'm taking my lunch break with them, so I'm eating with them. So because every day I was eating with them, and then they saw nothing about outcome about that machine. So one of the workers said, "Oh, you Syrian, you always taking a job, but that job is not for you. While you spend your time trying to make it happen, or in a way fake it to make it, and it's not gonna work without any productivity. You're still coming here and you eat our lunch without even having any outcome from you." I mean, I felt like, are you humiliating me because I'm eating with you? Only because of that later food?
Like the fact that you are working overtime and then just blaming you for eating food is something really bad.
By the way, my boss didn't give me my wages for 2 months. I worked for 3 months. He only paid me 1 month. Until now, he didn't give me any money.
In your experience across different organizations and countries, what forms of racism have you seen most often directed at refugees and people with migration backgrounds?
I remember the very first incident. I was a child, like 6-7 years old. We were playing soccer, in the neighborhood, and then everyone was afraid that the ball goes to a very certain house because they were Kurds, and whoever would join the team would be warned, be careful not to let the ball into the Kurdish house. This was the first memory I have of racism, and then I started understanding what's an ethnicity, who we are, what's a sect, what's a religion, the differences and the divide between people. Then back also in Syria, Palestinians, I knew that we have Palestinian refugees who have been refugees for like 50 years or something. And then when Iraqi refugees came to Syria, or fled to Syria in 2003, I think, I also started hearing a lot of stereotypes and name-calling jokes. And I've also seen a hike in rent, exploitation, etc. I've also, in Turkey, In Turkey, I've seen racism against Syrian refugees. I've seen one of the worst forms of systematic racism. I remember back in Syria in the beginning of the war, many refugees crossed the borders with their cars. Years after the war, they had no way back home, and they had to leave their cars, which then the Turkish government had to come up with a solution for these cars. So they gave them Turkish plates, but distinctive Turkish plates, so everyone can like notice or capture, or the Syrian car, or the car that belongs to a Syrian refugee can be spotted amongst cars, because it can be recognized, exactly. So you can recognize the Syrian refugee's car out of any other Turkish car because they start with specific letters. Years through this system, it became like a phenomenon. Whenever people crossing the street, before they even act or react to a driver giving way to pedestrians, or a driver crossing the red light, I've seen people looking at the plate and then acting and reacting. These manifestations are all symptoms of the very same disease. For me, racism is an infection of thoughts based on faulty assumptions or a combination of factors.
How were you treated differently because of where you come from, or how you were traveling alone as a woman?
Actually, as a woman, I am exposed to discrimination in the borders of Syria. Many times they are looking at me, wow, woman driving a car, try to pass the borders alone without man. It was like a huge
matter.
A huge event happened in front of their eyes. I exposed to some sexual harassment in the borders in Syria, especially in Syria. Actually, in maybe in Lebanon sometimes it's less, but in Syria it was more obvious. But I get survived
eventually
because of
thank God.
Yeah, God's grace.
Yes. What are the biggest barriers that prevent refugees from being seen?
Well, I think refugees are seen, but they're seen as only refugees
and victims.
And I think that here's the problem. So they are seen. They are seen as a problem. They are seen as a crisis. They are seen as an issue. They are seen as
Groups, not individuals.
Exactly.
Groups and not individuals.
They're never seen as the human they are, the person they are, like any other person, basically. So they're being shortened or like bottled into or labeled into one single label, a refugee.
And what are the barriers?
2 words.
To like, what the barriers for people to see them as an individuals, not just as a problem?
And I think there are internal and external factors that makes refugees be seen only as refugees instead of full, ordinary human beings. The internal, I think both internal and external are interlinked in a way, and I feel like the core of it is the victim-centered narrative and victim-centered vision and victim-centered approach.
Reflections as someone who lived through system based on racism. Do you think racism exists within immigration and visa system, even if it's not always obvious?
Yes. I'll give you an example that's happened with me. When I'm trying to I had like an appointment in the Turkish embassy in Lebanon. So when I tried to pass the borders in Lebanon, and they asked me why you are going to Lebanon, why you are coming there. I said that because I have an appointment. Which appointment do you have? I said like Turkish embassy. They said so you are not allowed to pass. So how I'm not allowed to pass? I'm having like an official appointment, and it's I have papers and everything is
Everything is legal.
it's legal. Yes. They said that it's not because of us. It's because of Turkish embassy.
Oh, so the Turkish embassy itself is giving them orders.
Yes, they're giving them orders to not allow any like Syrian people. They are coming from Syria, even if they have any appointment to pass. So I tried to explain to them that I wanted to see my husband there. I haven't seen him like from a long time ago, and really need to pass to enter Turkey and to enter Lebanon. And they said so. After begging the officer, he said yes, you can enter, you can pass, but next time if you have any appointment in Turkey, don't mention this in front of us. Yeah, mention any other like reason to enter
Don't mention the embassy.
Yeah, but don't mention Turkish embassy.